everybody, and welcome to the 4th episode of the Both These Guys podcast. My name is Richard.
I am Mark.
And boy howdy, do we have some shows for this week's show.
It's going to be an interesting one.
It certainly is. We've got the New Japan World Dominion show from this Sunday just gone. And we begin our new series, the first series that we've done of the Invasion, the WCW Invasion of the WWF, as was.
Very interesting, because I've never seen it before.
No, there's bits I've seen previously on various recap shows and all the rest of it, but a lot of this was new to me too. We've got the last ever Nitro, and we've got the Raw that ran opposite it at the same time, and also alongside it on the last ever episode of the Monday Night Wars.
26th of March 2001.
A day that will live in infamy for a number of reasons. Some very interesting stuff on both of those shows, and some very noteworthy stuff on the New Japan show as well.
Yes, definitely.
So let us jump straight out of the box with the New Japan show from Osaka Joe Hall on Sunday morning our time.
Sunday morning, the 11th of June.
Yes, a sold-out crowd of about 12,000 for essentially the SummerSlam of the New Japan calendar.
Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, that's their second biggest event of the year.
Yes, after the Tokyo Dome, which was headlined by Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada, which repeated for the Dominion show for the IWGP Championship.
Easy for you to say.
Absolutely. That was the first of what will be many fuck-ups over names over the next period of time whilst we discuss this show.
Over this 4-hour recap.
Absolutely, because it could easily be as long as the show itself. It was a long show, wasn't it?
It was a long show.
But not one that dragged, I didn't think.
No, not at all. The long matches, with the exception of one, for me, didn't drag.
Okay, that's fair enough. Well, let's get stuck into it then. We neither of us saw the pre-show match, did we?
No.
What was the result on the pre-show match, if we can remember?
Finlay, Oka, and whoever the guy was with won.
Real in-depth analysis on that one.
I can't remember. It was them two against two dudes and that big jacked up dude there, Brock Lesnar.
Yes, it was just a Young Lions match, wasn't it, really?
It was.
Which is fine, and it was on the pre-show, and who cares? That show's long enough without catching the pre-show stuff as well. The show itself began with an 8-man tag. You had Tiger Mask W, Toby Makabe and Yuji Nagata versus Tenzan, Jushin Thunder Liger, Kojima and Nakanishi. What did you think?
There wasn't really a lot to it, was there? My main takeaway from this was I'm a huge Kota Ibushi fan, so I was hoping to see him do some lovely stuff in there with Liger. Mm-hmm. And there was nothing notable that he did whatsoever.
No.
He was badly out of position for one spot that I remember, but apart from that, it was a nothing match.
It was. The team of the Tiger Masks won it. We did have a brief tease of Tiger Mask and Liger as well, which the crowd got massively into because obviously Liger, he's the best. And the finish saw Makabe and Nakanishi going at it. Makabe got the better of it and got the win with the King Kong knee drop. It was fine. Yeah,
it was a decent opener. It's a match to get people on the card.
Yes, absolutely. It was just a standard lower on the card match.
It's a typical New Japan pay-per-view. Let's get some 6-man, 8-man tags in to start with.
Absolutely. And you can never really go wrong with Tiger Mask and Liger anyway. No. There was a little bit of a tease there with Tiger Mask and Liger, which could be good fun down the road if that's the direction they go in. There's another direction that they're teased later in the show, which I much prefer than go down the road of, but we will see how that transpires. That took us to the gauntlet match for the Never Six-Weight Tag Team Championships. Evil, Sanada and Bushi, who are the champions, they retained their title overall in what was a long, but again, just perfectly fine gauntlet match.
It was, yeah, it was paced well.
There was no standout, was there, really?
No, not really. It was good. It was, a fine match. Nice to see Zack Sabre in there.
Yeah, which still looks weird.
Yeah.
We had Hangman Page, Takahashi and Bad Luck Fale for the Bullet Club versus the Chaos team of Toriano, Ishii and Yoshihashi. Yeah, Takahashi out with Peter and another girl at the beginning. That was interesting.
It was.
She's not bad, is she? That Peter girl. And the other girl was quite hot as well.
Yeah.
Whoever she was.
The Tokyo Pimps, wasn't it? It was their ladies.
Yes, absolutely. It was a nothing kind of match, really, the opener. We had Yujiro holding Yano as Hangman Page hit the ropes. Yano shoved Yujiro in front of both of them and they collide into one another. Yano hits a low blow and rolls up Yujiro for the win.
I think it just shows they may have a title or two too many in New Japan.
Yes,
and they just have to get them on the card.
And it's not going to be remedied by making another championship
No,
at the Long Beach shows, which I could do without, but such as it is. That match, that part of the gauntlet then brought Suzuki-gun out, and I sighed deeply when Suzuki-gun came out. Zack Sabre Jr., Kanemaru, and Taichi versus Chaos, obviously the Yoshihashi team. But thankfully, this was very, very short. It only lasted about 30 seconds. Yano went for the same finish, and it backfired as Zack Sabre Jr. grabbed him, twisted him up, and pinned him with the bridge. The bridge looked cool. I like the bridge. Yeah. He's got quite a strong neck for a man with a neck, mate, like a stack of dimes. There really isn't very much to Zack Sabre Jr., and it stands out, doesn't it?
Not so much in Japan, I don't think.
Do you think?
No, I think he's okay over there.
I don't know. It just still looks weird. He's too thin. He's far, far, far too thin.
And last week you were saying he was building himself up a little bit.
He did look bigger.
And that was a show from 3 months ago.
Yeah, on the PWG show he did look bigger, but he's still not big enough for my liking.
Okay. You do like big men, though?
Oh, I do love them. I do love a big man.
He's a bit sweatier as well.
Yeah, we'll get to lots of sweaty dudes later on as this show goes on, me included, because it was a long show and it was very hot in my house when I was watching this show.
Yeah, it's very hot in here now, I do apologise.
It certainly is. So that brought out Taguchi Japan, which was Ricochet, Taguchi and Juice Robinson, and they went up against the Chaos team. Robinson went for the Pulp Friction. Taichi grabbed the ref, which was a setup for Kanemaru spitting the whiskey into Robinson's face. Instead, it hit Taichi, and then Robinson hit the Pulp Friction for the win. Again, it was very, very short, and it was nothing much, really.
Yeah. Because there was that many teams, it was, I think, even though it was a fairly long match, it was 25 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, altogether the gauntlet was, it was long.
But it was paced quite well.
Nothing dragged.
Full of action. Yeah, there was no real downtime in there, so the crowd seemed to be into it quite well as well, with all the different factions.
As you'd hope there would be at the beginning of the show as well. I mean, there's not really been much going on at this stage. It's not like the WrestleMania when by the time the second match on the card had started, they'd already been going for like 4 hours with the pre-show.
And there was still about 50,000 who hadn't got in yet.
Yeah, it wasn't quite that bad. So that finish brought out the champions, LIJ, Evil, Bushi and Sanada, and they went against Ricochet, Taguchi and Juice Robinson. However, Zack Sabre Jr.'s night wasn't done. He attacked Juice Robinson, put him in the octopus stretch, which he held until LIJ made it to the ring. There was a huge stacked up superplex spot, which somehow Ricochet didn't die during.
That was scary.
That was terrifying.
The idea for that, I think, you had the other 5 guys were in the Tower of Doom kind of position. Mm-hmm. And who was it who was on top? I can't remember. But they was pulling him, they did the superplex, and the spot seemed to be for Ricochet to do a powerbomb on the guy who was at the top of the pyramid.
Yes.
And instead he just got wiped out completely.
Yes, I thought he was dead, to be quite honest. It looked terrifying, but he was fine, and he was on and popping within seconds, but he did look bad news.
It did, yeah, he did.
So then we had Taguchi hit Bushi, went for an ankle lock. Sanada came back with the skull end. Bushi went to the top rope, and they hit the MX to retain the titles. Altogether, good, great, not great, just undercard match again.
Yeah, it's nice to get the crowd into it, get a few guys on the card, and build things for the later matches.
Yeah, these belts, like you say, they don't need to be here, do they?
No, not at all.
Especially not when you've got 2 other tag team titles, which are defended now. This is the point where the show really started to pick up for me.
Yes.
Young Bucks and Roppongi Vice for the IWGP Junior Tag Team Championships. Bucks win the belts. It was really good. I really like this.
Not your typical Bucks match.
No, like we said last week, reviewing the PWG show, you're going to get very different Bucks in New Japan, and you certainly did. This was about the most straightforward Bucks match, like classic tag match that you're going to get out of them.
I think so, yeah.
Lots of very cool spots. The Bucks dominated. Not a great deal of wackiness. Lots of teases of the sharpshooter, which I understand is going to be their new finish. Yeah, lots of teases. Couldn't really get it, and then they did. Nick tapped out Rocky Romero with the sharpshooter. Yeah, it was good. All 4 dudes are really good.
Yeah, they've worked each other so much over the last couple of years. If they didn't put on a good match, it would have been a huge disappointment. They do work really well together. Trent's been excellent in whatever he's done in the last couple of years, especially. So yeah, good stuff. That like you say, that's really where we got started.
Yeah, they took Rocky Romero out, hit a big powerbomb onto the apron, ran his back into the ring post a couple of times, and left him for dead. so they ended up working over Beretta. But yeah, in the end, following very fast-paced last couple of minutes, they got the sharpshooter, really cinched in the sharpshooter. It looked great. The bend back on the sharpshooter was fantastic. Really, really good fun. Like I said, the most classic tag team wrestling you're probably likely to get out of the Young Bucks. No real wackiness. I really enjoyed this. I think it was really, really good. Then we had the big dudes for the IWGP Tag Team Championships. War Machine versus Guerrillas of Destiny. What did you think of this one?
I hated this.
Did you really?
I really did. I was so disappointed by this.
That's quite surprising.
Yeah, I really was. I don't like Guerrillas of Destiny anyway. At the best of times, I don't think they're very good.
They have improved, though, I think.
When you start so low.
Yeah.
And it was just the way that the match worked with, with the ref getting wiped out. It was just... I love War Machine. I think they're great.
They are fantastic.
Maybe it was just my expectation. I expected maybe a little bit too much with them, but yeah, this was... I didn't like this one in the slightest.
And Guerrillas of Destiny won with the Guerrilla Warfare. We did get big chair shot onto Rowe, which was horrible. He got clobbered with that chair. But it was quite hot back and forth stuff early doors. Nobody really dominated early on. But yeah, the finish didn't look great either. No. It didn't look like they got a particularly good one on the Guerrilla Warfare DDT. They're rematching at Long Beach, I understand.
Okay.
For the titles again, Guerrillas of Destiny. Yeah, I can understand why you don't like them and why you had such high hopes with the War Machine, but it wasn't to be.
No, not a great one. Maybe hate is a bit of a strong word for it. It started off fine enough, but this was the one match where really I was... It's not to say I was really hoping for anything special, because I don't think it was going to be anything special, but I thought it'd be like a really good match for given 10-12 minutes, and just a little bit disappointed. And
my disappointment match was next. Cody and Michael Elgin. Cody got the win with the Crossroads. I mean, it was fine. Cody was full on heel in this one. Lots of mocking Elgin, mocking the crowd, lots of posing. Some kind of... A lot of the times it was like Goldust-esque antics. Yes, absolutely. He did hit a couple of Goldust moves, which the announce team, the English announce team, to people in the crowd. And drop into his back with that uppercut thing that Goldust does. The announcers drew attention to it. They mentioned Goldust several times during this match with the English commentary. I went for English. You went for the Japanese commentary. I went for Japanese. Yeah. I thought I'd give it a go with the English commentary. It was fine. Don Callis is really, really good. In the main event in particular, that came across, both of them, the call in the main event was fantastic. I've heard other events and individual matches that Don Callis and Kevin Callis done. And Don Callis does seem a step up from Steve Corino and Matt Striker, which is not too hard with Matt Striker. No. I just really don't like Don Callis. No, that's fair enough. I don't think you've seen it, but on YouTube there's a video that I saw, which is just basically a clip of their podcast, the Killing the Town, him and Lance Storm. And it's where they've got Disco Inferno on as a guest. Yes, it's a bit of an ambush job, isn't it? Absolutely, yeah. It's just like, let's get this guy on. We're going to pretend he's going to be on. We're going to get him on as a guest and pretend that we're just going to talk about wrestling, and then just ambushing him to saying like, well, you were absolutely shit in WCW on the booking committee. It's like they're basically calling him stupid. And I have no particular affinity with Disco Inferno, or just that they come across as such absolute wankers in this piece. It's just horrible. And when you think how great Disco's hair was and how good his dancing was, that's really quite upsetting. Really, yeah, very disappointed. And I like Lance Storm. Lance Storm's good. When hearing him on previous radio shows, I've enjoyed Lance Storm. And Don Callis was really good on this. I would have to hear the clip, but I don't want to at the same time. But it's hard to... Like I say, it's the original podcast. I imagine is like an hour long. The clips on YouTube, the ones that I saw, were 2 10-minute parts, and I couldn't listen to the second one. It was just too much. That's quite upsetting. Yeah, poor Disco. Absolutely, poor Disco. Maybe they could get him on the New Japan shows in Long Beach. Maybe. I think that could be quite good fun. Well, yeah, he was a name in America once, and that seems to be half the... Absolutely. As we will come to later on, I suppose, when we go through some of the card that's been announced for the Long Beach shows. Maybe we could get this going here and just tell him how great his dancing was. I would love that. And he's serious wrestling at times as well. Like in some of those Nitro matches, he did some actual serious wrestling. It wasn't all wackiness and dancing. No. Did he win the TV title, or did he win the US title at one point?
He was a champion, yeah, because didn't he? They wanted him to drop it to Jacqueline at one point, and that's why they sacked him, because he refused to.
She's very depressing.
Yeah, I won't mess with Jacqueline.
No, and she pops up later on as well.
She popped something.
She certainly did. Quite a few very specific bits of her popped up later on. But anyway, this Cody match was fine, generally speaking. Back and forth, it wasn't really a showcase for Cody, which is odd when you think about where they're going, or where they seem to be going. They had quite a competitive match, quite back and forth. Elgin went for a deadlift superplex, but Cody cut him off and hit the crossroads for the win.
I mean, I know what you mean. It wasn't a showcase in the slightest. Elgin has done really well in New Japan. I think this show last year was when he beat Kenny Omega for the IC title. They had the ladder match last year, and he's put on great performances this year against Naito. So I think they're just trying to keep him strong, and it was a win as clean as you like. But yeah, it wasn't. Again, it's not one that I had particular high hopes for. I do really like Michael Elgin. Cody just...
Is this Cody character working for you in New Japan?
Not in the slightest. Not at all.
He seems to... I've seen from his ROH stuff as well as this stuff in New Japan. He seems to just be WWE Cody.
Yeah.
And that apparently is the gimmick.
I don't get it, because it's as if the way that he's been portrayed in the angles and the way that he's been pushed is as if he's a huge star. But he doesn't... He's not a huge star, firstly.
He doesn't have the aura of a huge star.
And he doesn't come across as a huge star. Now, some people, absolutely fine, you're not a huge star because not because you're not very good or you're not being pushed, but you can come across in certain things, like we said about Jinder the last few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. With the right presentation.
Yeah, but there is no way, shape or form, anybody would say Jinder Mahal is a star. But the way he's presented, the way he looks, the push they gave him, the presentation, his celebration, those kind of things, absolutely he looks like a nailed-on star.
Yes, he does.
But it's just not working for Cody. Not for me.
I'm exactly the same. Everything he's there. Cody, as we know, is really, really good.
Yeah.
But this whole character, him being in Bullet Club, it all just seems really flat.
Yes.
And a little bit kind of forced that he's entering the main event scene, and he's going to be entering the main event scene, it would seem.
Well, yes.
But it just seems like he's been shoehorned in because he was a big star in WWE. And not necessarily because of his work, which, again, is absolutely fine. He's a perfectly good wrestler. He's very, very good, in fact.
Maybe he'll lose and come back as Stardust.
Maybe. It wouldn't surprise me.
He'll just have to call himself Star. He's not right.
Do you think the name thing doesn't help? Do you think the name thing takes away from him just being called Cody?
I think it definitely takes away, because he just sounds like somebody you should be on, like some teen drama.
Yes, he does. He should always have Brandy with him. Yeah, because they can be Cody and Brandy Rhodes. Yeah. And you get around it a little bit.
Cody Runnels.
Or Cody Runnels, yeah. Because we all know, don't we? We all know that Rhodes isn't his real name. Yeah, it was fine. And then Cody, after the match, took the headset off one of the announcers and said that he wanted Okada and also Daniels for the ROH title.
Yeah, because all you've got to do is ask for it and you get given.
Absolutely. Well, maybe he's been watching SmackDown.
Yes.
That's all you have to do, Land of Opportunity and all that.
Yeah.
Just ask Lana. Then we had... After this match, I thought, we're going to have 3 possible match of the year contenders on one show because of the match that we just watched and the matches that were due to come.
The Suzuka Gun match, that's the one.
Absolutely. This, Kushida and Hiromu Takahashi for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title. Kushida obviously won the Best of the Super Juniors. He's the current ROH World Television Champion, getting a big push across both companies. And he won back the Junior Heavyweight Championship here. This was the first really awesome match of the night, wasn't it?
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely love this, yeah.
It was... where do you rank it with the Will Ospreay match from the Best of the Super Juniors final?
Don't think it's quite as good.
You don't?
No. I think it's a tiny notch below that. I think it's better than anything else that was in that tournament apart from the final.
Praise indeed.
That for me anyway, it was a brilliant match, really, really good match. But yeah, I think that the final against Ospreay was top notch, really, really good.
Well, and if that's fair enough. If you got that slightly above this, if it was below, it was marginal, wasn't it? It was fractionally below.
What did you think?
I, for my money, I thought this was comparable, if not better, than the Ospreay match, which I absolutely loved. We had very stiff exchange to open the match, both of them beating the crap out of each other. And they ended up brawling outside the ring, where Takahashi gave Kushida an overhead belly-to-belly suplex. Then we had an attempted sunset flip powerbomb off the apron, which Kushida countered with an arm breaker, thankfully. Kushida then set up a chair in the crowd, but Takahashi ran across the arena with him with a dropkick.
And he was getting booed at that point as well.
Yes, he was, which we came back to a couple of times throughout this show. Kushida did get heavily booed, didn't he? They liked what they liked, don't they, the New Japan crowd?
They seem like a heel crowd.
Yes, apparently, and the English commentators were putting that across during the show as well. The Osaka crowd, when they decide that they don't like somebody, they decide they don't like somebody. They said it was comparable to a Chicago crowd in the US. And so we had Takahashi went for the hoverboard lock off the top rope and managed to hit it. But then Kushida went for Back to the Future, and Takahashi blocked that. Then we had Kushida going for a sunset flip powerbomb of his own on the outside, which Takahashi countered and hit one of his own. He nearly fucking killed him with this sunset flip powerbomb. Kushida's head smashing off the floor. That was horrible.
It's sickening.
That was
the way he just landed. It was horrible.
But this is something that Kushida has been doing an awful lot of recently, taking some absolutely horrifying hits to the head.
Yeah.
There was some stomps, but both dudes in this match.
I was going to say it hadn't finished at this point in the match as well.
No, they both stomped each other in the head a few times, which was really, really quite uncomfortable to watch.
Punches to each other's throats.
Yes, which was another point where the crowd booed massively. They didn't like the old throat punching.
No, nor the stomps.
No, because the stomps were horrible. Yeah. Yeah, so there was lots of stiff shots. Kushida stomping on the head of Takahashi as well. Crowd didn't like it a bit. We had Kushida get the hoverboard lock, and he drives it in hard, which eventually caused Takahashi to tap. This was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was a wonderful match.
My recap is not doing it justice. It's a fantastic match. We had Kushida after the match cutting a promo. He got the crowd to do the wave, like at the end of the Best of the Super Juniors. And as the crowd zoomed out, as the camera zoomed out to show the crowd, they missed Bushi running in from behind and attacking Kushida and missing him to set up the next title defence, presumably at the Long Beach shows. This was really, really good.
It was great.
And Bushi got booed massively. Lovely heel heat for that one.
Mm-hmm. Nice to see someone spraying some green mist.
Absolutely. We don't get enough misting, do we, nowadays?
Not all.
This was phenomenal. I absolutely loved this match. Great stuff. Kushida is on absolute fire. And like I said, I thought we were on for 3 match of the year candidates from this show. It didn't quite turn out that way, but I think 3 possible contenders at this stage. Then we had yet another championship match. This was for the never openweight title. Minoru Suzuki versus Hiroki Goto in a lumberjack death match. That's fine, pretty good. A good opportunity for Suzuki-gun to interfere again for 1,000,000 times.
This would have been a totally different match without the stipulation of a lumberjack match, and it just had the interference. Mm-hmm. If it was just that and you had the interference again, then this match would have absolutely sucked balls.
Yes, it would have.
But having that stip, it made sense. And you had the interactions with Suzuki and Liger.
Which was one of my highlights of the whole show,
yes.
And one of the highlights of the crowd's evening as well, because they went tits for this, didn't they? Suzuki-gun and Chaos were the lumberjacks, and pretty much as soon as it got started, they were out into the ringside area. Suzuki-gun jumping all over Goto. Chaos tried to even the odds, but failed over and over and over again. Suzuki worked over Goto's arm, wrenching it back. It was quite uncomfortable. Suzuki's really good. I really like Minoru Suzuki. He's great fun. Very believable.
He looks legitimate.
He does. Everything he does looks believable. Looks
Terrible
legit.
hair.
Terrible hair. What is that supposed to be?
I don't know.
But it's really great though, because it makes him look even uglier and even sterner and like a true heel should be.
It's like someone like Halloween carving the pumpkins. I think they've tried to do that on his head. And
succeeded, kind of, if you could call that a success.
Yeah, that rules.
And then like that Mohican thing on the back of his head. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but it makes him look really ugly, and that's great by my book. Yeah, fantastic stuff.
You tell him that.
If I ever saw him, I'd tell him his hair looked lovely. And I'm a big fan, and I wish I could do it myself. Yeah, this went on and on and on and on and on. Goto fought back against Suzuki. Taichi came in with a steel chair. Lovely steel chairs. Dropkick, sleeper, gotch pile driver. Suzuki retains. This was fine. An excuse, like you said, to get more dudes on the show. Suzuki-gun, if I never see them again, I will be very, very happy.
You'll see them a lot.
I'm sure we will see them a lot going forward, but it's just... if we get Minoru Suzuki out of it, that's fine, but the rest of Suzuki-gun, I could strangle them all, given half the chance. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I really don't like it. The Suzuki and Liger squaring up when Liger was on commentary was fantastic. The crowd went mental, and I would like them to main event the Tokyo Dome. If we could, please. I want half a year's build, co-main event the Tokyo Dome. That would do me.
That sounds good. I'll pay to see that.
I love Jushin Thunder Liger. He is the best.
He's great.
Speaking of things that were great, we then had the IC title match, Tanahashi versus Tetsuya Naito, for a rematch for the IC title. What did you think of this?
Don't get it.
You don't get it?
No. I've seen lots of praise for this, and I just didn't click with me at all.
Really?
Really. I was watching it. I watched it twice, just to see whether I'd missed something first time around. It was... okay. There was nothing in there that grabbed me, that pulled me in, that made me care. I just... no. I really want to like this because Naito is probably my favourite guy in the whole company. Tanahashi's great and he's working through a really bad injury.
Yeah, really legit biceps tear.
Yeah, just didn't do anything for me. Really didn't.
I am astonished. I am truly astonished.
I take it you liked it.
I thought this was outstanding. Possibly better than the Kushida match for me. Yeah, everything about this was great. Told a fantastic story. The selling, real and fake, I imagine, was excellent from both dudes. I thought this was absolutely great. Tanahashi won the IC belt, saved it from being finally demolished by Naito. Yeah, I'm staggered. I'm a little bit taken aback here. I thought this was fantastic.
No, that's it. Didn't do nothing for me.
We had a really hot start. Tanahashi was out first, followed by Naito in a red suit, quite a cool red suit.
Tanahashi got a little bit booed at the beginning as well.
Yes, he certainly did. Naito comes out with his very beaten up IC belt and his red suit on. Tanahashi jumped him as he approached the ring, and they brawled around ringside for a little while. Naito got the better of that, and they kind of posed a little bit, and then he went to work on the torn bicep. If this is as bad as it sounds like it is, it's amazing that he went as long as he did and had the match that he actually did.
It's staggering, especially when you've got G1 coming up and he's going to have... well, it's a block of 10. He's going to have a minimum of 9 matches in a very short space of time. And then you've got the Long Beach before that. It's... yeah, mental.
Maybe it's something Billy Gunn can exploit in the Long Gun matches, in the Long Beach matches.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope so.
So we had
to keep the belt around just for that.
Absolutely. Naito dominated him, working over the arm. Tanahashi did finally make a comeback, hit a big high-fly flow off the top rope onto the floor. Then Tanahashi focused on Naito's leg, trying to get the cloverleaf, but couldn't get it. Naito came back again and worked over the arm some more. We had a twisting slam from Tanahashi. He goes to the top rope, but Naito cuts him off and works the arm again. Then Naito hit a Hurricane Runner off the top, which Tanahashi floated over and got a near fall for. Then we had another high fly flow attempt from Tanahashi, which he missed. He went for a Dragon Suplex, but Naito got the arm again. But then Tanahashi reversed that and got his leg. Naito a German Suplex, then a reverse DDT. Naito went for the Destino, but Tanahashi countered. Naito then avoided a Spring Blade and then was hit by 2 consecutive ones after that. Then we had a high fly flow, but Naito kicked out again. That was a great near fall. Tanahashi got a cloverleaf and left it for a very, very long time before he got Naito to tap. My notes read, "This was fucking great." I think your notes are going to be slightly different to my notes.
Yeah, it just didn't do anything for me. It never clicked with me in the slightest. Like I say, I really like both of them. And for me, it just didn't.
Something missing.
Yeah, I don't think it was as good as the Wrestle Kingdom match. It just, yeah, I don't know what it was. Like I say, I watched it twice because the first time I watched it, I was quite tired. I watched it late at night, and I watched it again this morning just to give it another chance, just to say, well,
see how wrong you were,
just to see if I was right or if everybody else was right. And this has got tons of praise. I've not seen anyone say a bad thing about it. It's not bad, don't get me wrong.
You're saying they're rubbish wrestlers that told a terrible story. I understand.
I'm not saying that with my mouth and words.
But with your eyes, you are.
It was just a fine match for me. Like I say, there was nothing in understanding the story of Naito and how he's been treating the belt, and understanding Tanahashi coming back to, to try and redeem the championship itself, the title, working hurt.
And his first championship win of any sort in about 2 years, I think.
Yeah, it's got to be. But yeah, it didn't do anything for me.
That's fair enough. And as I said earlier, I thought we were going to get 3 Match of the Year candidates out of this show. And we got 2 Match of the Year candidates, but then it was all pointless. It was all for naught, because there was only 1 Match of the Year candidate, and it was the main event of this show for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Kazuchika Okada versus Kenny Omega, who went to a 60-minute time limit draw, which I didn't think was possible, but it was fucking phenomenal. This was the best match I think I've ever seen.
You think?
I think so.
Okay.
This was better than the Tokyo Dome match, I thought. This was astonishingly great. I don't really know. I don't know what else to say about this without going into a move-by-move breakdown of the whole 60 minutes.
I thought that's what you were going to do.
Which I can do. I've got like 2 pages of notes for this match. This was astonishing.
I did really like this match.
They'll be pleased. I'm sure they'll be pleased.
They get the 2 thumbs up from me.
That's good.
I'm sure, 1 for each of them. I wouldn't go that far of saying it's the best match ever. Or
no, I didn't say it's the best match ever. I said I think it's the best match that I've ever seen.
Okay.
Because
I don't know every match you've ever seen, so I can't really judge that.
That's true. No, that's fair enough.
It was great. I haven't rewatched the first match, Tokyo Dome, so to compare, I was going to try and do that today, but I just never got around to it. I have watched this again because I didn't. The first time I saw it, I thought I really enjoyed it. It was a 60-minute match that didn't feel like it went 60 minutes in the slightest. And when you got that first notification from the announcer to say
the time cues,
I'm guessing it was 30 minutes. The first one, it's just gone absolutely like that. It had to be a 60-minute draw for the story, for the way it's progressing. The first 20 minutes of the match or so, though, it was all for nothing because of all that work that was done on the leg. So much work was done on Okada's leg, which was then completely forgotten about. Maybe he shook it off. Who's to say? Kenny
switched emphasis, didn't he? He stopped working the leg and then started trying to get his shit in, essentially, in storyline. Because he had the chance to win a couple of times, but he wanted to get it done with the one-winged angel. So he stopped going after the leg and started working over the neck and upper body when he had the chance to.
Okay.
And that gave Okada the chance to recuperate the leg.
Might have had some magic spray on it also.
Might have had some magic spray on it too.
He went to the outside a couple of times. I really enjoyed it. It was a really good match. Tremendous from both of them, and it had some of my favourite spots that I've ever seen. It was brilliant. Not that it was a spot fest, it wasn't in the slightest. I'd say though, it built really well, but do you think you'd have enjoyed it so much if you didn't have the tease of throwing in the towel and the rest of Bullet Club coming down? Because that for me was where it took off.
Yeah, that was excellent. And again, it's going to play into storyline as this thing progresses, because I don't really understand how you can keep Kenny Omega a heel now. If he already was a heel at this stage,
the fans have turned him.
Yeah, I don't see how you can keep him a heel, and that's going to play into this storyline, and this will obviously lead to a split with the Elite and the rest of Bullet Club, I would have thought.
Yes.
But no, I think you're right. That element of it was a lot more storyline driven than anything that we had in the.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That was part of the whole match,
absolutely.
And that's where it kicked up. And all of a sudden, at that point, Okada had just hit 2 rainmakers, and Kenny couldn't stand up. He got the ref to check on him just to make sure.
Yes.
And it looked like Cody was attempting to throw in the towel.
But was he doing it for nefarious reasons? We don't know, and obviously that will play out as the months go on.
Don't know. Ended up throwing it in, and they just wiped sweat off the faces.
Yes. But yeah, I mean the Bucks were trying to stop Kenny from doing it. Stop Cody from doing it. The rest of Bullet Club were out there as well. The whole crew was there to watch this match. It was a lot more storyline driven in that sense than what we got at the Tokyo Dome, but I think that helped, and it hit the reset button to an extent, and we then got into the second half of the match, which involved a lot of big moves and selling, but at no point was anybody's big moves killed.
No.
You think of the original match that they had at the Tokyo Dome, where Kenny Omega went several times to get the One Winged Angel, could never get it. He had a couple of goes in the first half of this match, but couldn't get it. And then he finally managed to hit the One Winged Angel for about an hour and a half's worth of build over 6 months.
Yeah.
And Okada was dead, he was done for, but managed to get his foot on the ropes to break up the referee's 3 count. That was so fantastically well done.
Yeah.
The timing was absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
It was just, it was beautiful. It was great.
Like I say, I really like this match, and I wouldn't say anything negative about it apart from the work on the knee. But that didn't affect my enjoyment of it. I will say that didn't affect my enjoyment. The one thing I'll say about this, and the reason why I don't think I would say I would put it up quite as highly as you are, is that I could quite easily watch this match, start it 20 minutes in, and enjoy it just as much as if I watched the whole thing.
No, that's fair enough. I can understand what you mean. I can see what you mean, but it's at this point it's personal preference, isn't it? And for me, I was astonished by how great this was. But and again, it was brutal stuff, but in a different way to the way their previous match was. Thankfully, there was no dragon suplexes off the top rope in this match.
The bruises and the welts that were coming up on Okada's face and his forehead towards the end when they was showing close-ups didn't look good.
No,
those knees hurt.
Yes, and the shotgun dropkick on the outside as well from Okada nearly killed Kenny Omega, drop kicking him into that barricade. That looked horrible, but in a entertaining and good way.
Absolutely.
The announcers in English and also in Japanese were going bonkers as this match went on. After we had the One Winged Angel spot, we had Okada hit a couple more Rainmakers. I think we had 4 Rainmakers in total.
Something like
that. Three or 4. As we're getting towards, obviously the time cues keep coming, and you can see the desperation from both dudes. They're both trying to hit their big stuff and try and get this match won. We had the attempt for the Rainmaker, which I think is one of my favourite spots that I've ever seen.
Yes, it's one of the ones I mentioned, yeah.
Kenny was done for. They both were done for, weren't they? Okada hit one and retained wrist control, brought him back up, hit another one, but was too tired to finish. And then we had the final attempt. Okada gets him set up, rears back to hit the Rainmaker, and Omega collapses underneath his arm. Yeah. That was so great.
Pulls him into to give him the Rainmaker, and he just buckles underneath the weight of his own body.
It was fantastic. We've got 2 minutes left. Both dudes are dead on the mat. Okada grabs the ropes. Okada picks Omega up. Omega grabs the ropes. It's a Snapdragon suplex, but Okada went back to the dropkick, which kept getting him out of trouble throughout the match. Hit so many tremendous dropkicks.
Yeah, he's the best in the business.
Yeah, they are fabulous. Hits the dropkick and then hits another Rainmaker. There's 20 seconds left. Okada is struggling to get over, but can't get the pin. As the time limit expires and the match is over. This was astonishing. Bullet Club helped Kenny Omega out to the back. Gedo takes a promo for Okada, talking about how it's not the best result, but it was the best 60 minutes. And then Okada closed the show by saying he'll make it rain on the entire world. And then we had confetti and all the rest of it rain down.
Yeah.
This was astonishingly great. Went backstage. Okada is doing his post-match interview. Cody comes along, has a beer, spits beer on him, and challenges him to a match at the Long Beach shows, which is where we're going apparently. Yeah, everything about this was great. Don Callis, he obviously knows Kenny Omega. He's known him since he was 16. He was putting over in the in commentary. It's kind of Heenan-esque at times, his commentary in this main event in particular. It was astonishing. I don't really know what else to say about this aside from, if you still haven't bought New Japan World, go and buy it immediately and watch this show. This was great.
Yeah,
fantastic. 6 stars?
No.
Because there shouldn't be 6 stars, should there, really?
Meltzer, on his show yesterday, famously he gave the Tokyo Dome match 6 stars. He said that this was better. So whether he'll give 7 or 6 1/4, who knows, or maybe it'll be another 6. It was a great match. It was fabulous. And like I say, I watched it twice. My enjoyment of it both times didn't change. I loved it both times. Yeah, like I say, there's not really much you can say about it, apart from it was really, really great.
When planning this podcast, I had through my head to go through spot by spot and talk about this match, but we can't do it justice, can we?
No.
Certainly not in the time that we've got, because we could go forever.
How good was just the flying elbow up to the table?
Oh, it was great. It was so great. And the Japanese commentary, they went bonkers for it as well.
Yeah. That commentary, just that 2 seconds of commentary is worth the monthly fee on New Japan alone.
And Kenny Omega's hair was as well, because he'd sorted out the mullet thing.
Braids.
I quite liked it. It had like quite a big match feel for it. It was quite different. I think it was good.
Like someone out of Avatar.
Nothing wrong with that. Avatar made a load of money, as I'm sure Kenny Omega is going to make when he eventually goes to WWE, which will be very depressing. But
do you reckon he will?
I just thought so.
Eventually, he's bound to, isn't he?
I just thought so. Take the Bucks with him. This was great. So that is the end of New Japan World Dominion, and then, like I said, we have the Long Beach shows, and we have the G1 coming up.
We've got Kazuna Road coming up in a couple of weeks. Then, the G1 specials in Long Beach, and then the G1 tournament for reals is. Yes,
and please, New Japan, sort out the Chromecast thing, because I'm not watching that stuff on my iPad like I had to with this show. I've managed to avoid all of the shenanigans during the Best of the Super Juniors, but they got me this time.
Imagine how much you'd have enjoyed that match if you'd have watched it on a proper telly.
15 stars, I'm sure I'd have given it. But this was fabulous. So, that takes us to the other main part of this evening's procedures, which is...
Can I just ask?
No, you can't.
Do you think Cody's going to win? Cody versus Okada in Long Beach for the world title, and at that point he may be Ring of Honor world champion.
I think he will, which I think messes up the storyline somewhat, but I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Do you think?
I think he actually probably will as well. I think he might be Ring of Honor and New Japan world champion.
But
maybe he's going to go on like a Hardy style, winning every world title.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, he could.
PWG.
Isn't he another champion as well? Isn't it? Is he the What Culture champion still, or wasn't he a What Culture champion? I think that's still a thing.
Do they still exist?
I think so. They still do videos.
He was a Global Force Wrestling.
Oh, that might be what I'm thinking of. Yeah. No, he's not Global Force champion anymore, is he? Because Alberto was.
Well, yeah. Alberto still is.
Is he still?
Yeah, because it's him against Lashley at Slammiversary for the unification.
Is that soon? Slammiversary. That's coming up, isn't it? Lost in the ocean of WWE pay-per-views and all the rest of it.
Couple of weeks. I think it's the first week of July. I think.
Because amazingly, there's a WWE show this weekend, isn't there?
Yeah.
Extreme Rule. Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not reviewing that. That's not going to be on next week's show, which will be slightly later on in the week. That show's not happening. We are going to continue our Invasion series and also review the Fight Club Pro show that we're going to go and see in Birmingham next Friday.
Wolverhampton next Friday night. So we'll do a show over the weekend to cover that.
Yes. So unless something astonishing happens, like I don't know, Kenny Omega wins the SmackDown World Championship from Jinder, we're probably not going to talk about it. So there you go. So yes, the first of our Invasion shows, which begins with the final WCW Nitro from, as Mark said, March 26th, 2001 in Panama Beach, Panama City, Florida. The crowd was really depressing for this show.
Really, really sad, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It starts with Flair coming out giving such a heartfelt promo, and no one give a fuck about it. They was too busy chucking beach balls around or whatever the hell they was doing.
And you see the way they've got it set up, obviously they've got the ring, and then there's like a hotel kind of facing the ring, and then there's beach, and they've got bleachers set up in the distance, thinking, we're going to have shitloads of people here, and there's just a huge expanse in between the crowd and the bleachers. This was very depressing. Yeah,
it was everyone was just like standing, wasn't it? And there was maybe 7 or 8 deep. It was like
very sad to see.
Yeah, very sad.
The broadcast opened with Vince McMahon in a pre-tape segment backstage in Cleveland, Ohio, which is where Raw was from, in front of the sort of Rory's War industrial set thing with the flaming rubbish can and all the rest of it, which I never really understood.
Mesh cage fence type thing.
Which always looked terrible. And he announced that he'd bought WCW, which he had done in real life 4 days previous.
Yep.
And he would address the WCW fans and wrestlers later on in the show during a special simulcast on TNN and TNT. Tony and Schiavone and Scott Hudson were the announcers for the show. And as Mark alluded to, we had Ric Flair come out to a very depressingly small crowd. And we got a crazy Flair promo.
Yeah, we really did, yeah.
Which is always fantastic. Irrespective of how many people are there, Flair promos are always great.
Always very much appreciated.
Yes, he is the best. He recapped what Vince said in the opening segment about holding the fate of WCW in his hands. And he basically told him to fuck off. It's essentially what he did in 5 minutes. He listed all the great WCW stars from Luger, Sting, Flair, the Road Warriors, etc.
Even Buff Bagwell.
In
there with Harley Race and Dory Funk and Jack Briscoe, Road Warrior, Sting, Buff Bagwell.
Buff was the stuff. You can't forget that.
Yeah.
He said they were neck and neck with WCW for years, and that Vince can basically go fuck himself. And in closing, he challenged his greatest ever opponent, Sting, to a match on the final episode of Nitro. And he reminded Sting that to be the man, you got to beat the man. And then he said, "Woo." I can't really do justice to this because I'm not Ric Flair, but this was fantastic. I absolutely loved this.
It was great. He was welling up, a tear in his eye,
losing his voice, going red, took his jacket off.
Yeah,
it was classic crazy
dropping
Flair.
the elbows on the jacket there.
She's disappointing, but as we covered last week, he's given that move to Miz, hasn't he? So he probably didn't want to do it at this stage.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, this was fucking great. We need more Ric Flairs. Is the conclusion that I came to watching this show.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to get any though.
I wouldn't have thought so. David weren't really up to scratch, was it?
And Charlotte's just Charlotte, isn't she?
Yeah.
Then we had a horrible 1-800 Collect advert, who was sponsoring the Spring Break Nitro. And then coming back from the break, we got title versus title, Booker T versus Scott Steiner, US versus World's Heavyweight Champion. Booker won both belts.
He did.
Defeating Scott Steiner with the bookend after avoiding a powerbomb. This was just there, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, Scott Steiner was a bit of a wreck at this stage, physically. And it was just one of those...
I like that you point out, physically.
Yeah, mentally he was like spot on. But it was just one of those things. Scott Steiner's contract was with Turner, wasn't it, rather than WCW,
yes.
So he couldn't be taken unless they paid him a huge amount or carried on that contract.
Which they did in a few years at a time anyway, which is
once
crazy.
his contract ran out. So his contract was with Time Warner, sorry.
Yes.
So they needed a world champion. Give it to Booker. They knew he was going to be there.
Absolutely. And Booker's very, very good.
He's very good. Very good indeed.
The most amazing thing about this was the fact that there was no bullshit. That Steiner just put him over, no problems, nothing weird, no kick out at 3.1 or anything like that. He hit his move and he beat him.
Needs a job.
Yeah, true.
That's what it is. He's after a job.
The best bit of this entire match was Scott Steiner getting a lead pipe from underneath the ring. Swung it at Booker's head, but Booker ducked and Steiner hit the post. And Tony Schiavone screamed the house down. He's screaming about Scott trying to kill Booker T. This was great. I loved this.
It was nice that Tony got into it because every time he was on camera, he looked like the saddest man in the world.
Yeah, well, he'd been WCW for like 1,000 years, hadn't he? And
he had a stint in WWF, didn't he? In the
yes.
very early 90s.
Very, very briefly.
When I first started watching, he was like the lead pay-per-view announcer.
Yeah.
I think he was there for a year.
Yeah, he did a few shows, didn't he? And that was your.
That was 1 year in between. I don't know, probably at that point, 20 years of NWA, WCW.
Do you think he was tempted to grow his moustache back for the final show?
That's what I thought. When he was looking really sad, I think he was just contemplating, shall I grow my moustache back?
I'm very disappointed he didn't have it for the last show. But maybe 4 days isn't perhaps enough time to...
Yeah. Maybe if Thunder was on that week, he could have grown one out in time, but...
I thought, yeah.
Them's the break.
They did both look very, very sad, though, the announcers. Yeah. After the break... during the break, we got an America Online advert. I hate AOL with a fiery passion.
Is it because they killed WCW?
It's not because they killed WCW, which I think was probably fair enough at the time. My wife, when she was just my girlfriend, she used to have a computer that used AOL and also Norton Antivirus. And those two applications did not get on and keep messing up. They kept destroying my wife's computer. And I had to try and fix it every time that it did this. And it did this about 3 times a week. I hated AOL. I was feeling very, very alarmed watching this advert.
It wasn't all the porn that was on there.
It wasn't all the porn. That was all fine. That was all safe. And this was during the dial-up days as well, so imagine how long it took to download all of that. Yeah. But yeah, I hated this. Hated it with a passion. And we had another one later on, and it drove me insane.
The biggest heel on the show is AOL.
Absolutely, it is. AOL and Vince were the only heels on the show in my mind. Then after that advert, we came back to Nitro with Vince backstage at Raw on his phone, continued to slag off WCW, as you do when you've just bought something for £4 million. You want to tell everyone how stupid it is.
Yeah.
Then we had a number one contenders match for the Cruiserweight Tag Team Championships. Filthy Animals, Rey Mysterio and Billy Kidman versus Shannon Moore, Ivan Kagaris, Kaz Hayashi and Yang. The Filthy Animals picking up the win.
Jimmy Wang Yang looking very, very young.
It took me ages to figure out who that was. With his long floppy hair, it took me a while to get there. This was Ray with no mask, wearing horns.
Yeah.
And you compare him to the WWE version, which came a few years later when he appeared on SmackDown. He looked minuscule. This was very strange.
But he did look considerably bigger than he did a couple of years ago in WCW.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
That growth, it wasn't instant growth. It was over a fair few years of
cycles,
heavy dieting and long training.
Absolutely, that's Jinder. Yeah, this was all over the place. Lots of flipping, lots of diving around. It was a tornado tag rule, so there was dudes flying everywhere. And Ray picked up the win with a leg drop off the top.
Yeah, really enjoyable.
Yes, it was good.
It's not 3-4 minutes, but you do what you can in that time, and it's good fun.
Then we went to break, and when we came back, we cut to more footage of Vince. And this was the beginning of what, for me, was quite a creepy evening.
Really, really creepy.
It was all quite uncomfortable to watch, wasn't it, really? Especially when you think about where Trish Stratus ended up in a few years' time as an actual... Obviously, all the horrible stuff that they did with her and Vince.
Yeah.
And then she ended up being one of the best women's wrestlers they've ever had.
I'm glad that we're seeing... Because WrestleMania week follows us, and that's kind of where that bit ends, isn't it?
Yes.
So I'm glad that we haven't gone back further and watched months and months of this kind of thing.
All the dog barking and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which, in 2017 eyes, looks just even worse, doesn't it?
Did it look okay then?
No, but you know what I mean. It seems...
No, I know exactly what you mean.
It seems even more horrendous looking back in
And
retrospect.
taken out of context,
Well, we had Trish, as you might have gathered, coming into Vince's office. They drink some champagne together. Vince compares Trish's boobs to champagne glasses, and then he kisses her. Vince is a weird dude. This is all just a bit sinister. And it continued throughout the rest of this show and the rest of Raw.
Yes, and the worst of it's on Raw.
Yes, that is true. Then we had Sugar Shane Helms versus Chavo Guerrero for the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. Shane came out to some great music. I don't know if this was his actual music or whether this was weird network edited in music, but I really like this. He came out with what I'm guessing were the Nitro Girls still.
I don't know.
They look like Nitro Girls the way they came out.
They were girls and they danced in unison, so
that's enough.
Possibly.
But they might have just been for Shane.
They could have been.
This was fine. It was good. Shane won with the vertebreaker. Retained the belt in about 4 minutes.
Yeah, again, just not much. It was just to get the guys on the show and have a nice quick match, and it's fine for what it was.
The only thing this was one of those matches where, like we've discussed previously with Ricochet and Will Ospreay, it seemed like two dudes putting on a performance rather than a match. It's like, I'll stand here and you lift me up, and then I'll stand there and you lift me up, and you lift me, and you... It just seemed choreographed. But it is what it is. Then we went to break, came back. Booker gave a speech at the end of the WCW. It was weird. They had a couple of these interviews. One with Diamond Dallas Page later on in the show, and this one with Booker, where they kind of looked off camera as if they were being interviewed by another camera.
Yeah.
Just a really weird way of doing it. Maybe this is where Vince got the idea that you're not allowed to look at the camera.
Quite possibly, yeah.
Vince
always looks at the camera.
He does always look at the camera.
He did in the promo at the beginning.
But they were quite low key interviews as well, weren't they? It didn't seem like they were playing their characters. It felt like they were being themselves.
Yes.
Which it's still weird when you see that. I know Impact did that for a while, didn't they? They had those weird, like, distance interviews where you get to hear the people talking their normal voices.
Yeah.
Just odd. Very odd. So yeah, Booker gave a big speech. He liked WCW. They gave him everything he had, all the rest of it. We go to advert, come back again, and Michael Cole barges into Vince's dressing room. Vince is sitting on the sofa with Trish.
Cole looking about 16.
Yeah, with the frosted tips, with his WrestleMania 17 jersey on, which we saw a lot of. Cole was rubbish. Told Vince that WCW fans and wrestlers are very upset about what Vince has done and whether he's going to kill off the WCW. Vince snaps at Cole and screams at him about his own job security, and I hoped somehow that in the past Vince would fire him and we'd never get Michael Cole, but I don't think that's going to happen.
No. You can wish it, but I don't think it will.
which led us to the WCW World Tag Team Championships. Sean Hare and Chuck Palumbo defeated Lance Storm and Mike Awesome in a 3-minute match. This was fine. Again, perfectly fine. It just reinforces what a shame it is that no one ever really did anything with Mike Awesome, because he was huge and he was pretty good.
Well, he liked fat chicks for a bit.
He did like fat chicks.
And then he liked the 70s.
And then he liked Canada.
Yeah.
Because he was part of Team Canada here with Lance. Yeah, again, this is an absolutely perfectly fine match. You can see why Vince liked Sean O'Hare and Chuck Palumbo, because they're big dudes. But just, it's weird that Mike Awesome never really got over on with any of the big companies. I know he did with with ECW.
Yeah.
But never on the main stage, as it were.
No. I was going to say he died not long after that, didn't he?
Yeah, but it seems like in those kind of companies at that time, with a dude his size who could actually go, he seems like the sort of person that one of the big companies would do something with.
I think more so in WCW, because they took a chance and actually brought him over. In WWF at the time, I guess it was just that packed.
Yeah, I suppose it was a very stacked roster.
And there was never, you're never going to get somebody, one of the Invaders, who was only a mid-level guy anyway, going toe-to-toe with anyone decent in their own promotion.
It is a shame, though. And then we had Sean Stasiak with Stacy Keibler, or Miss Hancock, as was, versus fat Bam Bam Bigelow.
He really was, wasn't he?
He was enormous.
Yeah.
Wrestling with a giant white t-shirt on, which may or may not have been like a bedspread. I'm not convinced it wasn't. In a tattoo match.
Yeah.
And as Scott Hudson pointed out, he had Bam Bam came out with a tattoo gimmick in his box, which I enjoyed. We had an interview with Stacey beforehand when she talked about wanting to have sex with Sean Stasiak, essentially, and how everyone would like to have sex with her and they can't. She seemed very uncomfortable saying all of this.
It's a true promo, though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But she didn't seem very happy saying any of this. It came across as very forced and very wooden.
Yeah, especially the bit about shagging Stacey.
Yeah. But she obviously she gets a lot better on the mic as a WWE run sort of goes on into the future.
Do you remember any of her promos?
They were better than this. They were better than this.
I can't say I remember any of them.
She got much better towards the end.
Didn't take that much notice.
No, that's fair enough. She was terrible here, and this match lasted about a minute. It was rubbish. Bam Bam won with the greetings from Asbury Park.
Yeah.
But for a big dude, he didn't exactly squish him. He was so light with that move.
Bam Bam was fantastic.
He was
really,
great.
really good. Even if he was really big and fat.
Yeah, he was enormous in this match, which is very sad to see. But he was still great because, like I say, didn't squish anybody. Mm-hmm. Then we have Vince showing backstage talking to William Regal at Raw. They talk about what a horrible place WCW is and how Regal should know as he worked there for ages. And then they laughed at WCW and Regal told Vince he shouldn't be buying it and all the rest of it. This whole backstage thing with Vince, and obviously getting Regal in as well, it's just one very long, continual piss take, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And Vince must have... I doubt he even scripted any of this. I imagine he just...
It's like this is going to be on Ted Turner's telly.
Yeah, just you come here, slag off WCW with me for 2 minutes. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they both had a good laugh. Then we got the actual match for the Cruiserweight Tag Team Championships. Rey Mysterio and Billy Kidman versus Elix Skipper and Kid Romeo.
This is where Tony mentions that he wasn't too pleased about Regal's promo there.
Yes, because they had to keep putting his ass over when he worked there.
Over, yeah.
It was, yeah. Poor Tony.
Poor Tony.
It wasn't the most exciting night in the history of his sport, was it?
No.
It was a landmark night in the industry, though. He did manage to get that one in the open.
It certainly was a landmark night in the industry.
Ray and Billy Kidman won the Tag Team Championships when Kidman hit Skipper with the Kid Crusher. Went about 4 minutes. Again, it was perfectly fine. Crowd were very chuffed with the result. See title change. They liked the Filthy Animals because they're little dudes that flip around.
Yeah.
Which, it gets over with people doesn't it? Yeah, absolutely.
Believe it or not.
We had a short DDP interview, again, also putting over WCW, thanking them for everything the company's given them. DDP's so great, even when he's been like low-key, and not low-key the wrestler, he was fantastic.
Yeah.
Then we had a great video package with Flair, DDP, Dusty Rhodes, Goldberg, Piper, Jeff Jarrett, Bret Hart, Hulk, Wyndham, everybody. About the legacy of WCW. They had the old NWA Championship in there. This was brilliant. I loved this.
Yeah, it was so good. I was saying earlier, it was similar to the New Japan when, before the world title match, it has that little video package showing all the previous champions. Very similar to that kind of thing.
It was great.
Yeah, that's the best thing on the show.
And then you think that they have that on WCW, they have that on on New Japan, the montage of all the champions, and then the WWE champion, the world's champion, is Jinder Mahal.
Yep.
You have a 60-minute draw, and possibly one of the most lauded matches of recent years. If you don't want to go so far and say it's the best match ever or whatever, that IWGP Championship is treated with such respect and love and adoration. And the only comparable other championship is the WWE World Championship, and Jinder Mahal holds that belt. It doesn't make sense, does it?
Or Brock, Universal.
Yeah, but the Universal hasn't got the lineage, has it? The WWE champion is the one that goes back, Hogan and all the rest of it.
Yeah, the lineage don't matter. You're the WWE.
But it should matter.
Well, no. As far as that is. As far as either or belt, it doesn't matter. You're the world champion for that company. That's what should matter. It doesn't matter about which belt that you have at the time.
No, but surely if you've got a belt that's held up as being, the most prestigious, the most honoured, the most fought for championship, surely you should want to put that over and put that with dudes that are only going to reinforce the legacy of that belt rather than just a dude because for some reason you want to go and be big in India, even though you're not going to sell anything else in India.
I completely agree with that part, but I just don't think it matters whether it's the Raw brand champion or SmackDown brand champion. You are the world champion for that company. It doesn't matter which version of that belt you are holding.
I suppose. I don't know. It just struck me as odd watching the New Japan show, then seeing this video as well. It's like I just don't get it.
Bob Sapp was champion for New Japan.
Bob Sapp was champion for New Japan, but I think Bob Sapp has probably got a bit more legitimacy about him than Jinder Mahal.
Oh, you reckon?
Although Jinder does have a great entrance.
He does.
So he has got that going for him. So yes, then we had a short interview with Sting when he's surrounded by baseball bats. He said the only thing about Sting was that the only sure thing about Sting was that nothing was for sure, and then he told us all that it was showtime.
Yeah.
This is just standard Sting stuff. I'd hate to have been the dude that had to hang all those baseball bats stuff because there was a lot of them.
There was a lot. Looking back with hindsight, you had the promo from Book and the promo from DDP. It seemed like they was giving the promo time to people who were going to jump and actually be there.
Yeah.
So whether there was something in place at the time with Sting where it was quite likely that he was going to jump and.
Well, they did talk to him, didn't they? But they didn't trust him with his character.
Times over the years, but.
That's a fair point. That's a very fair point.
Just odd that
he was the odd one out that didn't go.
Yeah. And considering that was booked by WWE by Vince, so yeah, I thought maybe that's where they were going with it, but obviously it wasn't.
But that led to the match: Sting and Ric Flair. Great crowd reaction for both dudes when they came out. Flair's working in a t-shirt. Because he was a little bit bigger than he'd want to be. And I know reading his book, he was very upset about the fact that he had to work in a t-shirt.
Still had the robe.
Yeah, still had the robe and a t-shirt. And they had basically every Ric Flair Sting match ever.
Condensed into 7 minutes.
Yeah, which meant that it was awesome. We had the big gorilla press on Flair, Rick being thrown off the top, huge chops, Flair begging off, the flop, Sting reversing the figure four into the middle of the ring as well. The whole shebang, it was great. Sting won via the Scorpion Deathlock at 7:17, following a superplex, and then after the bout, Sting helped Flair up, and they shook hands and embraced and hugged, and it was great.
Yeah,
I absolutely loved this. This was fabulous. Third best thing on the show, behind the video and Flair's promo.
Yeah, I think so.
Loved it. But if you've seen Ric Flair and Sting have a match, then you've seen this match.
Yeah.
But just longer and probably better. And then we have Tony cut off mid-sentence to go to the Raw thing.
Yeah.
The simulcast, which they'd been plugging all the way throughout the show.
This is really weird because watching Nitro first, this looked like one of those, when you hear from live events where something goes wrong and they have to try and retape it.
Yes.
Because it cuts midway through a segment, and it was only watching it on Raw again. Do you know the part I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
Makes sense that it wasn't. It was fine. It's just the timing of when it was cutting.
But yeah, because obviously I think Vince had come out too early. So he had to go back up and
or
redo
didn't quite
the
get the
entrance.
reaction from the crowd that he wanted, or something like that. He might want to be a bit louder when.
Yeah, because he said that he wasn't given the respect that he deserved. Yeah. Whether that was from Lillian or who was doing the ring announcing or the crowd, it wasn't entirely sure. But I think this was just one of them where obviously Vince came out too early, thought, shit, got to go back, redo that.
Quite probably, yes.
So yeah, Tony was cut off midway through. Lillian reintroduces Vince, and then he heads off to the ring. Cuts promo on beating WCW. He said the sale from Time Warner will be finalised at WrestleMania WrestleMania X7 on Sunday, when Ted Turner delivers him the contract in the ring. Vince then discusses the upcoming match with Shane, which was one of the main featured matches on the whole pay-per-view, which seems very strange now. Vince says that he's going to do to Shane what he did to WCW, which is strangle it to death, essentially, which is always nice. He said he didn't really know what to do with WCW, whether he should put it on the shelf or run it as a media conglomerate like WWF. Went through a list of WCW names to see if he thought the crowd should bring them into WWF. Hulk, Lex Luger, Bagwell, Sting, Steiner, Goldberg. All got really good reactions.
Buff got a great
reaction.
Steiner probably got the biggest, apart from Goldberg.
Because the crowd recognised that Buff was the stuff. You see?
he was some stuff.
It was, which makes the match, the Seattle one, the WCW match for the World Championship when the crowd shit all over it, seem even stranger.
Spoilers.
Sorry, yes. Spoiler for about 6 months down the road. Yeah, so that was weird. Goldberg got probably the biggest round of applause, as you noted. Then we had Shane walk to the ring. Well, Shane's music hit.
Yeah.
And the cameras obviously zoomed in on the aisle in Cleveland, whereas he actually appeared in Panama City in front of the WCW crowd, who were very excited to see Shane and his great turtleneck jumper.
I think they was excited about the beach balls that were going around and
the
booze they were drinking, yeah.
Do you don't think they were big fans of Shane McMahon? Because they reacted pretty big where, spoiler alert, for in a minute or two's time, he alerted the Vince that he'd actually bought WCW. The crowd went mental for that.
You reckon?
There was a big reaction.
I think there was a big reaction in Raw. I don't know how big it was in Nitro.
And we got Vince doing the big gulp thing a couple of times on the split screen, which is always great. Yeah, Shane said the deal for WCW was finalised, and it does say McMahon on there, but it's Shane McMahon, not Vince. He then said that he would beat Vince at WrestleMania and that WCW would kick Vince's ass again.
Yeah. This is great. Really well done.
It was very well done.
It's one of the most repeated segments in WWE history, without question. Just that with Shane walking out. So I think we've all seen that tons of times. It's just the whole thing of making it all about McMahon's.
Well, yeah, the final segment on WCW Nitro ever was an ego stroke for Vince, and then the last thing we ever saw was an advert for the Raw main event.
Yeah.
Because I'd always thought that they were still head-to-head at this point, and that this closed out Nitro and also closed out Raw, which would have made a lot of sense at the time, but it wasn't. This was about halfway through the Raw show.
I think, yeah, I mean, I can understand why, because you've got the WCW crowd watching the last watching a half an hour of Raw and then telling them switch over now, we've got another hour of wrestling for you.
It absolutely
including
makes sense.
Stone Cold and The Rock in the main event and attack match.
Which makes total sense. When you think about it in those terms, it makes absolute sense for this to be the setup for that.
But I know what you mean. In my memory of it, of what I remember about that time, I thought it was still head-to-head, and that segment ended both shows.
What did you think to the show overall?
Sad. Really sad.
It was, and it was a means to an end, wasn't it, really, just to build to this final angle of getting WrestleMania over, which is...
Yeah, it's just...
weird.
It's sad seeing how far they'd fallen from when they, just 2 years earlier, just absolutely running everything.
Yeah, they were killing it, weren't they? Making ridiculous amounts of money.
Crazy, yeah. Yeah, so it's really sad.
What we'll come on to as this series runs on is obviously a lot of the criticisms that they faced for the invasion and for the way that they handled it and the way that they positioned WCW. You have to remember at this stage, obviously Vince has hated WCW and wanted to get rid of them for a very long time, but he now owns this company.
Yeah.
This is yours to make money with, dude. You don't have to bury them at every single opportunity. He goes on, we'll cover it in greater detail in a little bit, but he buries everything about them. He buries the fans. He buries where the show is. He absolutely crucifies every element of his own company at this stage.
Yes.
And this is a theme that will be repeated as the Invasion era goes on.
Yeah.
But the alarm bells are already there, aren't they?
Very much so. Yeah, very much so. I suppose seeing it now in hindsight, yeah, the writing's on the wall already.
So that takes us to Raw, which obviously was about an hour or so behind Nitro on that same night, 26th of March 2001, from Cleveland, Ohio. Now, as we mentioned, Vince buried WCW for running Panama City Beach in Florida.
Yep.
And I watched this show in two parts. Watched the first half on Friday or Saturday, I think it was. Finished it off yesterday, the day before we recorded this, on Tuesday. I watched the rest of this show in my back garden, on my deck, which I've just recently erected, on my iPad outside. Now, to get into the network, you have to go via the iPad app.
Okay.
And the front page of the WWE app thing, it gives you various bits of news about the company, what the stars are up to and all the rest of it. And one of the main featured storylines on the front was WWE stars explore Panama City. They've just gone and run in Panama City. I think it was a house show. So I thought that's quite interesting. Vince is burying them for running in the Redneck Riviera.
Yeah.
And talking about how shit WCW is for running in front of a beer hall, I think he said.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a bit weird because
I was on a beach.
They're on a beach. But he also slagged off Panama City, and here they are, 20 odd years later, or however long it is.
Maybe it's had a lot of renovation in those.
Maybe those intervening 16 years.
Yeah.
But I thought that was quite different. But we get the open of the show, which is Vince. It's a different open to what we got on Nitro. Yeah. You had Vince watching two TV sets, one labelled WCW and one labelled WWF, because he now owns both shows. He did a speech about announcing on both TNN and TNT, and that he owns his own competition. Now, the clips that they show throughout the show of WCW isn't what airs.
No. And the people that he actually points out who are on the screen wasn't on Nitro at all.
Nope, not once. Obviously, Vince wants to get his shots in.
Maybe he was watching the tape library already.
He must have been. But Vince obviously wants to get his shots in, doesn't he, at this point? And he's going to do it irrespective of whether they're actually there or not.
Yeah.
But as you said, they booked that Nitro show.
Yeah.
So you'd think if you want to bury people, you'd put them on TV to bury them.
Yes.
I don't know, or maybe you don't put them on TV to bury them. I don't know. It's a weird one because they ended up being on TV anyway.
Yeah.
Which is strange. On the Nitro screen, in inverted commas, Vince sees Jeff Jarrett, and he mentions how Jeff spells his name J-E-F and all that business. But he says that it's not spelt that way anymore. It's now spelled G-O-O-N-N-E.
He's a goonie.
He's a goonie. I think that means Jeff hasn't got a job anymore, which is disappointing for Jeff, but not very surprising.
Well, if he gets one odd Willie's gold, I think he'll never need a job again.
I think the moral of the story is don't mess with Vince because he will fuck you when he gets a chance.
Yes.
And he certainly did that with Jeff here.
He did.
We had JR and Paul Heyman and the announce team. Heyman puts over what a historic night this is going to be, and JR announces the main event, which, as we've noted, is Austin and Rock versus the Brothers of Destruction. The show kicks off properly with Kurt Angle coming out. Nobody chanting "You suck" in his music, which sounds weird.
Yeah.
I kind of missed that a little bit. He just came to the ring and it was fine.
Yeah.
Does a promo talking about how everyone is talking about the big news, everyone in the industry, and that is the fact that Kurt Angle doesn't have a match at WrestleMania. He talks about how the Gobbledygooker has got a match, but he doesn't actually call him the Gobbledygooker. He calls him the Gobbler.
He calls him the Gobbler.
Which I think is great. I really wish that there was a character called the Gobbler. He tries to correct himself, but all I hear at that point is Gobbler, which made me laugh a lot.
Yeah.
He puts over how he's a former WWF champion and all the rest of it, gold medalist, and he's the best. And then the creepiness continued massively because it's still weird and it's never not going to be weird. Out came Chris Benoit.
Yeah.
Basically challenged Kurt to a match at Mania and then put him in the crossface and Angle tapped.
Do you watch much wrestling with Chris Benoit these days? Or do you avoid it, or if it's on, do you just get through it? Or?
If he's on, I tend to mess around with my phone, or I have it on in the background and I just do whatever I can. It's still weird. It's never not going to be weird.
Yeah.
What about you?
I haven't actively avoided anything. I don't really watch a lot of wrestling from that era anymore, so I haven't seen a lot. Yeah, it was a little weird.
Two of my favourite matches from this kind of neck of the woods involved Benoit, and I've not seen either of them since it all happened. The triple threat from Mania 20, the main event, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
And Benoit and Jericho versus the two-man power trip, the one where Hunter's quad explodes.
Yes.
That tag team match was outstanding. And yeah, I can't watch it.
It's really weird as well, because I noticed when I was watching this and he was coming down the aisle, he really looks like a woman who I'll work with.
Seriously?
He does. So I'm never going to be able to look at her again without thinking of a rabid Wolverine.
It's all just uncomfortable, and I'm going to just try and speed through things as quickly as I can with him because for obvious reasons. He taps Kurt out with the crossface. Kurt's very sad about this.
Yeah. How great was Kurt, though?
Kurt was fantastic.
He's the best. He really is.
He's phenomenally great. Everything he does, whether it's comedy or whether it's serious main event stuff, he's great.
It's It's really good because I was watching on the network the way it scrolls through all the episodes. So you go to the year and it starts with the last episode of the year.
Yes.
So I was scrolling back from the end of December all the way to this in March, and just seeing like the icon on screen that he has for the episode, and so many of them occur in the comedy segments that he has. You lost him. It's just like, I can't wait to actually get to those.
We've got some really good stuff to look forward to. And his stuff with Edge and Christian is always great as well. Yeah. Team Eck and the other two members of Team Eck ran out to attack Benoit and made the save. Edge hits the Edge-O-Matic, and then Christian hits a slop drop on Benoit. And the two help angle up and get him out of the ring as quickly as possible. We go to the break and then come back with more of Vince backstage. Again, different segments to the ones on Nitro. He's talking to Steph on the phone. Trish feeds him some strawberries. It's all very sinister. Vince talks about how Buff is stuffed and how the Lexus Express has broken down, as both those dudes were on the WCW in inverted commas screen in his office. It's all very horrible. Vince tells Steph to enjoy a vacation with Hunter, then invites him to watch the main event as well as the simulcast. Vince hangs up and Trish feeds him more strawberries and whipped cream as it goes to a commercial. It's all very weird and very horrible. Yeah. Don't like that one bit. Taz beat Val Venus in about a minute with a Northern Lights Tazplex. Yeah. It's supposed to be a lumberjack match with Right to Censor, APA and Jacqueline's enormous boobs. Everyone interferes in the ring. It's Russo-rific. Even though he's not there, then
no. Yeah, it was not, like I said, it was a minute. It was just to get the angle over to help things on for WrestleMania. 10
million things happening at once.
Yeah,
as is the theme of this show, really, because nothing ever really is given time, is it?
No.
Which, we're spoiled now. I mean, Raw is too long. That is obvious. The modern day Raw is far too long. Yeah. But we do get at least one good length, good quality match, don't we? Generally speaking, on each one.
Yeah.
None of that here, unfortunately.
No.
Then we go backstage with William Regal, who's sitting with Trish and Vince. Vince points out Road Warrior Animal on the WCW monitor, and he wonders what Animal will think about the new WCW owner. And then he asks Regal about his tune-up match for Sunday. Regal says he's going to win, basically, and Vince wishes him lots of luck. Then him and Trish are at it again. It's all very weird. Then we go to adverts. We come back and Doink the Clown is entertaining the fans as JR talks about Sunday's Legends match. Paul Heyman goes ballistic. It's not a Legends match, it's a gimmick battle royal. Tells JR to call it as it is, and JR does that. And then we get a little on-screen graphic for the gimmick battle royal.
Yeah. Corporal Kirshner in the graphic as well, and I don't think he made the match.
No, I don't think he did. Which the Iron Sheik one, didn't he? Because he couldn't be thrown over the top rope.
They should have had the women's battle royal rules, and it's just anyone who's out the ring.
Yes, they should have. The top. Yeah, just roll him under the bottom.
Yeah. The Gobbler was in there, though.
The Gobbler was there, that's true. Kurt will be very upset. Then we had Regal coming out to the ring, and challenges one of the Holly family for his warm-up match going into Mania. Crash comes out.
With his light heavyweight championship?
Yes, with Molly Holly. Regal goes after Molly. Crash thinks he's supposed to be in the match, but Regal goes after Holly instead. Regal attacks Crash as well, and then Doink the Clown runs in, beats up William Regal, puts him in the good old-fashioned Lion Tamer. It wasn't the Walls of Jericho, as they kept calling it. It was the goddamn Lion Tamer. And Regal tapped like a maniac, because obviously it's Chris Jericho.
Yeah, takes his hat off to reveal himself.
Yes, and that's a good build for the match at Mania. Yes, there we go. Then we get Kurt in the backstage locker room,
This is great.
He's not a happy camper because he didn't really tap because it wasn't a sanctioned match. He didn't really tap. Edge and Christian walk in. He's very upset. He's Kurt still, but they tell him that Regal has signed them to a 6-man tonight against Chris Benoit and the Hardys. Angle gets very excited about the match and then claims that he wasn't tapping earlier. He keeps reiterating this point. He wasn't tapping. He was really reaching for the ropes. And Edge and Christian tell him that they believe him. They then offer to introduce him to their old friend who comes in, and it's Rhino, who made his debut, I think, the previous week on Nitro.
Goring Spike Dudley into a table.
Yes, and nearly missing.
Yeah.
They showed a replay of that from SmackDown, and it looked very ugly. Rhino says that it's an honour to meet Kurt, and that he said any friend of Edge and Christian's is a friend of his, and that he's willing to bleed for him.
Both still on Raw to this day.
Yes, which is weird. Rhino eating crackers nowadays and not being quite as intense. Christian calms him down and get him to walk off. And Angle says that he's not sure about his integrity or his intelligence, but he's got intensity. Yeah. This is great. Everything with Team Heck is great, and then throw Rhino in as well. Good fun. I like this a great deal. Mm-hmm. Then we had JR and Heyman hype in the main event, the title match for Sunday, Austin and Rock, and they show the hype video and then the highlights of the face-to-face interview on SmackDown. This was all so great.
Yeah, brilliant, absolutely fabulous.
And then we have the highlight video is the My Way, the early version of the My Way video. Yeah. I know it's stupid, but I was getting goosebumps watching this. The music and everything about this was just so perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. Absolutely brilliant. That is one of those things that will just live on and people will watch time and time again. And I think even fans watching it now for the first time, I think they'll just see that thinking that's just so different, so much better than anything that they do put a good video package on when they want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one of the best.
But it wasn't, when you watch them, it wasn't like The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. It was Dwayne talking to Steve Williams. They were both quite understated. Mm-hmm. They got the catchphrases in, and they had intensity, but it wasn't overblown. It wasn't crazy wackiness. There was no comedy. Yeah. It was, I'm going to beat you up. I need to beat you. I need the belt, kind of stuff. It was great. It put over how important the belt was. It put both of them over as being absolute megastars. This was so great. Yeah, loved it. Loved every second of it. Then we have backstage Coachman interviewing Deborah, who at this point is still married to Austin, but he's the Rock's manager. He asks about the mindset of both Austin and Rock, and Deborah tells Coach that now's not a good time and walks off. Don't know why this was on TV. This was completely pointless. Unless it was
just tension,
I guess, and maybe to build up a little bit of time before we get to the simulcast, which is coming up soon. Vince putting his jacket on because they may or may not have just had sex in the intervening period. Trish tells him good luck, gives him a kiss, all the rest of it. They go to commercial. Then we have the simulcast. Vince calls TNT TNN at one point, which I thought was quite good. Yeah, it's just everything that we went over earlier. Puts over certain people, gets other people to get booed. Had the big thing with Shane. It was great.
You missed the most uncomfortable backstage segment of them all.
Did I really?
The one where he was talking about Goldust. Dustin.
Oh yes, he does talk about Dustin, doesn't he?
He talks about Dustin and he mentions, and it's a true story that I've heard before.
Oh God, yeah.
When Dustin wanted implants, he wanted fake breasts, and then he says to Trish, can you believe the absurdity of someone wanting these, and then looks at Trish's tits,
which were enormous.
Yes, someone wanting these voluptuous, succulent, tender breasts.
Vince is a really weird dude. And I know we get into this more as things go on when Tori Wilson and some of the other WCW women come into it. Can you imagine the balls of this dude? I know he's got grapefruits and all that. It's astonishing.
Yeah.
It's very creepy.
With his wife next door, probably, as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's in a wheelchair, though. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, she was drugged off her tits, wasn't she? So,
off her succulent tender.
Not sure they'll be as succulent and as tender as Trish's, but you never know. It was very, very weird. It was very, very creepy. Vince is a strange, strange dude.
Yeah.
But he starts to get his comeuppance after the end of this segment, doesn't he? Because Vince isn't afraid to get made to look stupid every now and again. As we pointed out during the Shane stuff, he does the big gulp, he looks terrified, he looks very, very sad at the end when it's revealed that Shane is the owner of WCW and not him. Yeah. Vince looks stupid when he has to. unlike certain other authority figures that we get on WWE TV nowadays.
Yeah.
Vince is weird, but he's very, very good at what he does. We come back from a break, and Vince is in his office. No Trish to be seen. He looks very, very sad. He's on the phone, yelling to his lawyers over the phone about how this was allowed to happen and how his big moment's been ruined. He's not a happy camper.
He's not at all. Poor him.
We get the Hardy Boys and Chris Benoit versus Team Eck. The Hardys are with Lita. It's just a standard 6-man pay-per-view match, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Preview pay-per-view match. Benoit taps Christian very quickly to the crossface. It's just what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess it's the afters with Rhino coming and goring the shit out of Lita.
Yes, he gets a couple of gores in, but he murders Lita with that gore, doesn't he? That was, that certainly was one hell of a hit. She does take quite a few of them, doesn't she?
She does.
I remember with the 2-man power trip when Austin and Hunter absolutely wallop her with some chairs. Austin in particular beats the piss out of her. It's very uncomfortable again watching it in 2017 eyes.
Yeah.
Because you can't do that stuff, can you, anymore? Unless you're in Lucha Underground.
Or New Japan.
Or in New Japan. Yeah, it's a weird one. We go to adverts, come back again, and JR and Heyman are recapping the assault on Undertaker by Hunter from SmackDown the previous week. And backstage, Kevin Kelly interviews Taker and Kane about the main event. It brings up Hunter's assault and all the rest of it. Taker takes his hat off and shows where he had the 16 stitches in his head. He's going to win, basically.
Yes.
is the crux of this promo. He's going to beat Hunter up on Sunday. We then get Test versus X-Pac with Albert.
Worst entrance music ever.
It's way up there, isn't it?
God, it was so fucking bad.
Both of them, to be fair.
The X Factor music. I've forgotten all about that.
The Uncle Cracker one.
Was that who it was?
I think it was this.
I remember Uncle Cracker doing one of them for him. I can't remember if it was that one or not. It probably is.
But it was terrible. They both had awful music.
Yeah.
Once they both come out, Lily announced that there was a special referee for the match, and Eddie Guerrero comes out to his great music.
Excellent music.
He's Latino heat music. Eddie's full-on healing it up. Eddie's so great. I know breaking news and all the rest of it, but Eddie's just brilliant at everything he does.
One good thing about the entrance for X Factor was X-Pac attempting to dance down the hill. Just completely got no rhythm in the slightest, completely off. That was hilarious.
Like a good heel.
I don't think it was intentional.
Do you not think?
No, I think it was probably off his face, to be fair. But
that's a terrible accusation.
Possibly.
Probably true. Yeah.
He won't remember it was off his face.
Eddie full on healing it up, not counting for Test, fast counting whenever X-Pac is on top. Finish saw Test getting Eddie's face. Eddie slaps him, and Test sends Eddie outside, turns his back to his opponent, but eats a spin kick from X-Pac. Albert hands him the European title. X-Pac climbs to the top rope and leaps off with the belt, but Test hits him, and then hits him with the pump handle slam. Test covers him as another referee comes in to count, but Eddie pulls that other ref out onto the floor before the 3 count. Eddie argues with the ref while X-Pac sets up Test for the X-Factor. Test tosses him into the corner. Test goes for the count-along punches, but X-Pac nails him from behind with the belt. While Albert comes in from behind, hits Test with the Boldo bomb, and Albert leaves while X-Pac covers, and Eddie counts him for the 3. All this happened in about 3 minutes. Again, it was one of these things where just so much stuff happened that it was quite difficult to take notes on.
Yeah, I think that it's just they had to cut half hour out of the show to do the simulcast, and then thought, well, I'm going to do the match exactly as what we planned anyway.
Yeah,
just in like a third of the time.
Yeah, and they managed to get an awful lot in for 3 minutes, but it was what it was. Then we have Austin backstage making coffee when Michael Cole asks him about his thoughts about teaming up with The Rock. Austin doesn't say anything, stares a hole through Cole, and then walks off. Then Mick Foley comes out after a commercial break.
Mm-hmm.
Crowd heavily into Mick, although Heyman reminds us at home that he's been fired. Mick plugs his book. Vince comes out to tell him to get out of his ring as he has been fired, although Mick has a video of himself with the administrator of the Small Business Administration, Linda McMahon, who's in government office nowadays. Very long story short, Linda says that Mick can put himself as a special guest referee for any match that he likes, and he's chose the Vince Shane match. That's it. This took a very long time.
Took a very long time.
To not say a huge amount.
Yeah.
Vince, again, looks very, very sad at this news. Yeah, so that was that. We went to commercial break after that. Jericho and Big Show are shown making their way to the ring for the next match. Non-title match, IC champion Chris Jericho versus Big Show. This, again, was like a 3-minute match that allowed everyone on Earth to make run-ins and all the rest of it. We had Kane, we had Raven, we had William Regal. The show won with the chokeslam in less than 3 minutes. But Raven attacking with a trash can, attacking Raven. Regal beat up Jericho. Lots happening. Again, just a little short angle to build for the Mania match. Which is fine. The crowd were... 2
Mania matches, I guess, with the...
Yeah, the 3-way hardcore match. The crowd was heavily into all of this, but there was just so much going on. When you think of how long we get these rambling segments on modern day Raw and stuff that doesn't really build to anything, most of the stuff on this show was building directly for the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Which, I know they always step it up for Mania season, but...
Imagine how bad it gets when you get to the 20-minute opening promos as well.
It's coming. Hunter and the Reign of Doom. Backstage, we had The Rock bump into like a floor director dude, like a helper chap. Rock asks him for where Steve Austin's dressing room is. He tells him it's over there. Rock introduces himself, and then the other guy goes to introduce himself, and Rock tells him that it doesn't matter. Again, I don't really know why this made TV. Don't understand why this was there.
No.
Apart from just to get Rock to kind of do his catchphrase, but not really.
Yeah, but maybe a more serious, less cartoony version, maybe.
Yeah, part of the realism that we spoke about earlier on. He wasn't The Rock, was he? At this point, he was kind of Dwayne, sort of.
Yeah.
Go to commercial break, come back to WWF New York, where the Dudley Boys are there. Crowd going mental for them.
Yeah.
JR asks about Spike's condition. Devon says that he's hurt, but they're going to win on Sunday in TLC 2.
Bubba does a bit of testifying.
Yes, he does. And Devon is very pleased about this.
Mm-hmm.
Backstage, we get Austin talking with Deborah. When The Rock walks up, they kind of discuss coexisting this evening, provided neither of them fuck with each other.
Yeah.
They both agree.
Yeah. Until the match is over, and then all bets are off.
Yes, absolutely. Which, as we will see later on, shit goes down.
Shit goes down indeed.
Then The Undertaker and Kane are showing heading to the ring for the main event. Stone Cold and The Rock with Deborah versus Kane and The Undertaker. Again, this got like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
It's back and forth stuff. Bit of a nothing match, really. Austin goes for the Stunner on Taker. Taker shoves him into The Rock on the apron, then hits him with the chokeslam. Taker sets Austin up for the last ride, but Hunter runs in with a chair, whacks Taker in the back. Kane attacked Hunter on the outside. Austin covered the fallen Taker and grabbed the pin for his team for the win. Taker going down to one chair shot.
Yeah, to the back.
Which I'm fine. I don't want people being hit in the head. That's perfectly fine. Just a bit strange, bit of an anticlimax, really. But I know they had a no DQ match, didn't they? Or a false count anywhere match or something.
Something like that. They went they
brawled
into
all
the crowd for 20
minutes
minutes or something, didn't they?
So obviously this kind of puts that over. But it was just weird to see Undertaker, of all people, get beaten by a chair shot in 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Very strange. Taker's not happy with Triple H afterwards and glares at him as Hunter escapes up the ramp. Austin gets some beer thrown in from the dude who is really, really good at throwing beer because he never actually seems to miss. Celebrates the win with Rock, or he was planning to, because he gets 4 beers, but Rock is stood behind him. Austin turns around, hits him with his own stunner. Rock calls for some beers to be tossed in, cracks one open, drinks it, cracks another one, puts it next to Steve as he heads up the ramp. Rock does the eyebrow to close the show.
Mm-hmm.
A very, very, very packed show.
Yes. Yeah, like I say, I mean, I don't know, maybe it was just booked on the fly, but I suppose they had to try and get as much WCW stuff in and for the simulcast, so cut maybe half an hour out of the show. The thing that was a bit weird for me is the fact that the last hour of the show was unopposed.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to get the Nitro fans over by doing the kind of show that Nitro had been doing anyway for the last couple of years, and had been turning millions of people off.
Absolutely. 9,000 things happening, nothing having any time to sink in at all.
I mean, you've got the star quality of Austin and The Rock, and if that wasn't enough to bring them over in the first place, I don't see why a show the same as what WCW was putting on anyway would make much of a difference.
No, that's a very good point. We'll see lots of lessons not learned from the WCW years as the next 16 years unfold. But the Invasion era in particular, we'll be getting knee deep into next week.
Yeah, we will do. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So we've got the next 2 weeks of of WWE programming around the beginning of the Invasion, which is when Lance Storm invades a little bit further on down the line after WrestleMania.
Yep.
And we'll also be, as we discussed, covering Fight Club Pro.
That's it, yeah. So we'll be looking at weekly Raw and SmackDown shows going forward in the Invasion era.
Yes. So we will be back with you later on in the week, next weekend. In the meantime, have fun.
Thanks a lot. Bye.